Live on video, stand by. All right, good day and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Live the Fuel show. So today, as we're recording this newest episode for you, it's currently, I like to timestamp stuff once in a while. We're now into April of 2018. What? And I decided to bring back a repeat co-host. And here's a little teaser. He's a founder of many things, which we're going to talk about today. He's a coach. He's a speaker. He's also a fellow podcast producer. That's right, people. I've been on his show too. He's actually the creator of TOOWi Media. That's TOOWi. I mean, this guy's been a therapist, a healer, a creator. One thing I love about him is that his passion is simply inspiring people to see and realize new possibilities. So without further ado, since he's a repeat, I'm bringing it back. Welcome back to the show, sir. Jerry-Gaura.
Thank you so much. You know, Scott Mulvaney, I think you got a career in this. It's a really good setup.
That's scary.
It's a good setup on the fly like that. You know what you're doing.
Well, I mean, it's 166 episodes as of this morning went live. So
I know, but you know what? That I cheat on my show because I pre-record everything, and
you do have a lot of advanced editing and fun stuff.
I craft the hell out of my show.
So I don't know how. Is that all you do now? You just sit there and edit podcasts? Because
it takes.
I listen to your show, and I'm like, what? How did he do that?
Scott, so I'm a coach, right? So I get other coaches on there, and they're like, dude, what the hell are you doing with your time? It takes you like 16 hours to do one show. I'm not kidding, 16 hours.
See, and that's not my style, right? Like I'm a marketing guy. I love branding. I love, doing things different. But when it came to the podcast, I just wanted to keep it clean, lean, and simple. And, especially with me paying an editor, I was like, I have my, voiceovers. So I'm like, okay, intro, outro, quick promo reel, done. No editing throughout the show.
I respect you for that. But I have a different vision. My vision is I'm scaling into a media company. So if I couldn't put together products that represent where I want to scale in terms of, I want to go into film, I want to go into all that kind of stuff.
Well, and respect that. I mean, you're definitely moving into a media company because, let's go back. You were last on our show for episode 69, which actually was April last year. So We're coming up on your 1 year anniversary.
Auspicious number too, 69.
Yeah, it's a great number. Actually that aired on April 24th. So later this month. And actually this will be interesting if I got to see how you fall into the schedule. We might have you out right around the same time. So
that's something.
Well, but a lot's happened in 1 year, my friend.
Oh, so much. Yes.
We were just talking. I mean, you fired up. You obviously already have Pioneers of Insight. That, for ladies and gentlemen, that is his very successful podcast that I highly recommend since I've been on it.
That was my very first foray right out of corporate when I was starting to build the brand.
Which we talked about that on that episode, which again, go back and listen to 69 people. I mean, it was really interesting to seeing where you were then. Yeah. And now we get to catch up now.
Yeah. A lot has happened.
Besides launching another podcast show.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's being disingenuous. That was my very first foray when I was working. I was a graduate faculty member for an integrative health and healing program. I knew a ton of people in the industry and the health and healing communities, like Rupert Sheldrake and Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. And I was doing workshops with those kind of people. I was facilitating them. And I was like, all right, I'm going to start interviewing some of those people. So I kind of learned my chops. I did that for about 2 years.
Okay.
Before I stepped into Pioneers of Insight. And then I relaunched that podcast that you're talking about right now, QH Cubed.
Yep.
When I had the chops to do it because I didn't know what the hell I was doing earlier. And I'm a bit of an artist creator type. And I realized
screen share here because you got them both up on your revised TOOWimedia.com site. There's the second show. I love the logo, by the way.
The QH Cubed? Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it.
And I love the fact that because like Pioneers of Insight, I think really delves very nicely into the entrepreneurial space, really getting a lot of people out there into their mindset of achievement. I love that, the creators. And then, since obviously we talk a lot about health, business, and lifestyle in my brand, and I love the fact that you ended up launching something around health and happiness. It just makes sense.
Well, it makes sense for me because I don't want to be a downer, but I started to realize, like on Pioneers of Insight podcast,
Right.
that I'm focusing on the struggle a lot, the hustle and grind thing and all that kind of stuff. And my skill set is as a coach and therapist and freedom facilitator is understanding mindsets. And I realized that that's no longer cutting edge, that conversation around that. It's the leap between the struggle and making things easy. And I realized the people that were most apt to talk about that sort of things were people in the health and wealth creation markets. So I'm like, I'm going to relaunch QH Cubed to be more specific about that leap. And my skill set is interviewing. And you may have experienced that on the show, hopefully.
I think I did.
Yeah. And I want people to hear that because there actually is a leap available for people. We don't have to be in a place where you're grinding your whole life. At some point, these patterns and these ways of being and thinking become natural. And, then you're in a space of ease or grace or whatever you want to call it. And there are people out there, everybody knows them, right? They're like, how the hell are you doing that so easily? Like money comes to you easy or whatever. Relationships come to you easy or whatever. We all know those people. So I've been seeking those out on the QH Cubed podcast. And it's a lot of fun. My craft is getting better too. So,
well, we've talked about this in the past. It's you kind of threw something fun in there just now. You were saying, oh, well, people are like, I don't understand how you're doing this or how you got there. And let's be real. I mean, my show's a year and a half old, 166 shows up a line, 2 a week. Going back to the very first week of launch.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that my interview style has changed and we talk differently and the confidence level builds and things get easier, right? To the point where you can free up time to focus on other things because now it's just like, man, you're just flowing, right? You got that flow state.
It is flow, but you know what's interesting? You're totally right. It's all about flow. And if you wanted to, put a tag word on the QH Cube, it is flow people. That's what I'm really seeking out. Oh, but the key is, you know what? You are just as good the first day as you are now. It's confidence. It's more about confidence. And it's more about people just opening up and allowing themselves to do what they're good at. And we tend to tell ourselves a lot of shitty stories, along the way. And that's the struggle usually.
We are our own worst enemies sometimes. Let's be real.
God, yes.
I mean, so I love the fact that you're dwelling on happiness here, not just health. I think that's important, right? Because I got interviewed last night on this guy's show he's from Israel. So I'm talking to Israel last night. That was the first.
Yeah.
And his brand is, the podcast is Rich Laptop Lifestyle. And
I think I've run across this.
Yeah. His name is Yuli something. I'm blank on the last name because I'm just not as Israeli in depth with my international knowledge. But he's like, hey, what's something common that came out of the podcast? He was trying to interview me, and I said, well, the tagline is fuel your health, business, and lifestyle. But what I ended up talking about was mindset, which is kind of what we're talking about right now, right? Like you have here healing and happiness, and obviously we're talking about health, and it's like all of this combined. I just had an epiphany last night because since launching the show, I didn't want to rebrand because all of a sudden I started hearing mindset more and more and more.
Yeah.
And he and I really geeked out about personal development, professional development. And obviously that's part of your background, right? So it's just interesting how we don't actually need to say the word mindset, I think.
No.
Are you getting that from quantum?
The quantum was just a word to embrace the idea that every one of us, each and every day when we get up, there's a journey that we have to take, and it's a quantum leap where we find ourselves in here I am, and we always want to be somewhere else, whether that be, I want more happiness. I want more money. I want more love in my life. I want more. So quantum was just kind of this idea of the leap.
Okay.
I agree with you. Like, we don't really have to talk about mindsets. It's about understanding the journey and creating awareness around where you want to go in the journey. The mindset and the struggle, the beliefs, the thoughts, our destination are all part of it. And I want to take advantage of all of that in every opportunity that I get through media, through coaching, through even through therapy, which I'm kind of like at this point in my life, I'm going away from therapy.
I was figuring that over this past year. I stalk you a little bit online.
Yeah.
Once I have co-hosts on, like I can't unplug completely. I always want to see what the journey is.
I love going back and looking at the journeys of the people I've had on my show. That's part of the reason I do it. I'll let you in on a secret. One of my biggest thrills is putting together a show and then waiting for that email afterwards to be like, holy crap, that's awesome. That's like that's what I live for, is allowing creators to feel inspiration. That's my whole journey, is inspiring creators. And that's really where I want to scale. And I was telling you before the show, I'm sorry, we're going off topic just a little bit from where we were at, from Israel and the mindset thing.
It works.
but that's really where I'm going with the TOOWi Media brand, is producing shows that inspire on a massive level and inspire massive change.
I like that.
Yeah, well, I've got some pretty big ideas I'm sitting on right now, and bringing on some investor money and all that kind of stuff around a new concept. So I'm totally pumped right now.
I feel like if you're going to go big, or you're going to keep doing stuff like you and I do, right, with the podcast, like you have to be a little inspired and a little motivated from within, right? I mean, I had someone call me the other day. They say, I can't believe you have 166 shows up. And I said, yeah, what's your point? And they said, well, how'd you get there? And it's like when you go for a walk, you just put one foot in front of the other. I mean, in the beginning, you got to start strong and real hard and just go. And it's funny. You could probably flashback for me too. I was chasing down people to get them to come on and be a co-host. Like I had to put a lot of work into it, but now I'm good. I have enough. I'm booked out the next 2 weeks. I've already got 2 weeks worth of shows in the tank. It's flowing, right? But it took time to build that system and to build that. You hinted earlier, the confidence, right? Like I can rock the confidence on a microphone. That's not hard. I do public speaking. I'm a trainer. I'm a coach. I do that. I do business development. It's what I do. It's just now I'm doing it on a microphone in front of a camera. So,
well, I think you mentioned something. I'm going to kind of riff off of what you were just saying in terms of being able to be in it for the long haul. When I work with people, I see a lot of people that have drive, but they don't have passion, and drive and discipline, but no passion, or a vision, but no passion, right? Like passion, if you don't have the passion, which is connected to a key thing, which is inspiration. Inspiration comes from being in real contact with your genuine nature. It's letting you know that you're on your path. If you don't have that, you're going to burn out somewhere along the way. And you've seen that in podcasting. It's huge right now. And it's been that way for the past, 5 years. So many people, everybody's told in the business track, well, get a podcast going and then write a book, right? And you see people come up to the surface, but they can't maintain the longevity because
the consistency.
It's not really about tapping in and serving themselves. It's about serving something outside of themselves, like this idea of wealth or this idea of this or that, and getting something. It's not a genuine expression. And those people burn out, and you haven't burned out for a reason. I haven't burned out yet.
Well, I was going to say yet as well. Because it's funny because I do wonder. People say, oh, well, like I follow friends of mine who have they've had 6 years they've had their podcast.
Yeah.
Over 1,000 shows.
Yeah.
And I heard one of their last episodes I was listening to, they were joking around. They're like, man, one of these days we got to stop doing this. And the other one just laughed because they're regular co-hosts on their own show. Yeah. And they said, nah, like it would probably take something big because they've just been doing it for so long. They look forward to it.
Yeah.
And they're not putting out, they probably put out 4 to 5 shows a week now. That blows my mind too.
Well, you could do that when you scale and you have enough people on your staff to do it.
Yes.
But like me, this first year has been laying the groundwork. I'm doing pretty much everything with the help of a couple VAs.
Same here.
Don't know what they're doing. So that ends up being 2 times the work. It's a tremendous amount of work.
It is. And
like this.
If anybody's listening to this and thinking about podcasting, because you're hearing 2 guys who have podcasts, the whole point of the show is not just to talk about podcasts. It's if you're picking up on the underlying principles that we've been discussing here. But I will say, as far as a hack goes, you just threw in there the VA thing, right? Like I have a VA. And since day one of launching this show, I've never edited an episode. I have no idea how to edit an episode. I started to learn it, and then I said,
You can
nope,
hire me.
I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So,
No,
and I've gone from, I had a bartering relationship, so I never had to pay for it.
Yeah.
And then I was paying for it. And then I found a different guy and we were doing a bartering relationship. And now I'm back to paying for it, but it's so small because I use a VA overseas. So the dollar ratio is wonderful.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's.
Well, I'll go back to it. I'll also, let's make this about principles, right? If you're going to do something that's connected to something like podcasting or media or writing, or you have to know yourself, right? Which means it's got to be a genuine expression of who you are. Because if you dig in and you're serving some outside reason, which is, well, my wife wants me to make more money and I heard podcasting's a good reason, like, or I hate my job and I'm going to do this, but I don't really like doing it. You're just adding another task. And those kind of things are going to end up working against you because
you overwhelm yourself.
Yeah. Well, it's got to come from a place of love. And I know that may sound silly and contrite and cliche and all that kind of stuff, but anything in life that lasts is about a relationship that's connected to love. And it could be a relationship to a person, place, or thing, right? It's all that. That's the whole game, man. So, the people that end up doing well around these kind of things, there's a genuine connection to a creator element in them, or, a genuine connection to a communicator, or there's et cetera, right? It's coming from a place of passion and service. Yeah. You got to serve yourself first before you can serve others. And I think the people that do that well in media and podcasting, they're serving themselves first, and then it serves others. That's where it's easier for you. You're in the flow now because you took that leap for yourself, and now it's coming back, right?
Well, then it's also, to your point on passion, right? So it's also like, okay, what are you doing to keep the passion fresh and change things up too, right? Yeah. That's also part of this is that, are you we hit that flow state. I want to make sure people hear this because this is not just about podcasting. This is about life. It is nice to get things streamlined and get things flowing, right? But you got to shake things up once in a while too. The brain loves it. And some people get really freaked out by it. But the more you shake things up, the more you challenge yourself to do something different or outside the box, the better. Since I talked to you last, back in November, my fiance challenged me. I've never taken a 2-week trip. And we went to South Africa. So I flew with my podcasting gear. Just so I could still okay, what if I get inspired and I want to?
That's cool.
I have the gear, I have the flow state, but I'm doing something different and outside the box. Plus, I was really trying to lock down this famous doctor down there in South Africa that they tried throwing in jail because he was trying to tell people to stop eating sugar. I'm not kidding you. It was crazy.
Really? Wow.
Oh, yeah. So we're getting him on the show. He was supposed to be on a few days ago, but his assistant booked him on the day of his wife's birthday. And he's like, Scott, I'm all about life balance. I got to be there for my wife. I'm unplugging. And I said, no, go ahead. We'll reschedule. It's not a big deal. But the point is challenging ourselves to do something different. Like you, for example, since last year, we talked a lot about TOOWi and the wellness side, and you breaking free of the corporate space and launching Pioneers of Insight. And now a year later, there's another podcast show. You talked before we started recording today. There's a third project in the works, right? Going something more enterprise level. And you're still challenging yourself. And it's less than a year later.
Yeah, I basically had some ideas about how I was going to serve myself when I came out of corporate. I knew my skill set. I led workshops, 3-day workshops for top level execs and people that were in treatment industries, right? So I had a skill set there, and people were like, you need to take your show on the road. And I was already kind of there in my mind. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. So I had a pretty basic idea of scaling my brand in terms of what I do in serving people through coaching and therapy and bringing other people on to do stuff. And then the media was just kind of, honestly, it was my one passion piece. The rest ended up being BS. Meaning, I had no idea when I stepped outside that I would be scaling a media brand. I thought I was going to be scaling a wellness brand.
That's true. I do remember that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I realized, oh my God, my real passion is inspiring people through breakthrough media. That's really what it's about. And that's what I've been doing. So I've been adding shows, and now I'm in talks with other people, distributors, and scaling the brand that way, with bringing other people on. Like, I really wish I could talk about this new idea, but I can't, because everything, all the ducks got to be in a row before I say.
I was going to say, yeah.
Go.
Right now, patience is a virtue.
Oh my God, it's a killer idea. But the whole point of me talking about what it's been like in terms of my entrepreneurial journey is, I think when we're authentic about serving a desire, right, change happens. And it means you have a sense of the outcome. Like, there's two different kinds of mindsets. One is a goal-oriented mindset, meaning, let's imagine a Tony Robbins. Like, he paints a picture of a vision board where he goes, I'm going to have exactly that, and then there's the outcome mindset, meaning when I stepped outside, I'm like a wellness brand, like me stepping into that. The outcome mindset says, I'm going to continue to move forward to serving my desire to help others. And here's where I want to be, and it may change along the way, but it doesn't detract from the goal, from the outcome. It gets better. So people that tend to be super goal oriented, and I found this in my work and coaching with people, tend to grind a lot, because when something doesn't play out exactly as they had set up in their mind, they find themselves losing energy. They find themselves losing patience. They find themselves, it ends up becoming a difficult journey. And there is a benefit to keeping it an outcome. And that's what I've pretty much learned over the past year and a half with my brand is, every time that I invest some sort of faith in the process without getting too upset about things that don't play out exactly the way that I want them, which is basically life anyway, right? Like, by the way,
really?
Life,
Really?
right? Things always get better. Life works with me. That's the flow thing, Did I just go off there for a while? Yeah, I did.
No, but it was good, man. It was real. That's why I don't format the show. Some people, listen, you're not going to, here's another little tip in life. You're not going to please everybody, right? Not every listener is going to vibe with every single show you put out. But that's why I like when I go open format, because I never expect to know where it's going to go. And all of a sudden you get some good content that comes back. So I love the fact you dug into that whole flow piece there a bit.
Well, I think this is just my opinion. There may be plenty of people with different opinions. That's the cutting edge that we're on right now in terms of the evolution of the growth market, right? It's really about understanding what the hell that means. And we've been talking about it for a while. But for me, that's really where the excitement is, and that's where the passion is at this part of my journey, is helping people tap into a space where things get a little easier for themselves. And it's based upon a really simple principle that some people fight like hell. Life's best when you feel good.
There's something.
That's just like simple, a simple philosophy that's just rooted in reality. And for some reason, we tend to want to fight that. We tend to want to invest in the idea that we got to suffer like hell if we're going to be successful and happy. And that doesn't appear to be the case.
I'm glad you're bringing that up, because I'll be meeting with a client this afternoon, and I saw an event pop up in Philadelphia next month, and it's going to have, here's an interesting combo, Tony Robbins and Gary Vaynerchuk.
Oh, wow.
And then a few other people. So I'm like, this should be interesting.
Have you watched Gary co-host anything?
No.
I love the guy. I love Tony Robbins too. Tony is a big part of my own journey.
but they're very independent, right?
Oh my God. Tony's not a very good co-host either. He has his own podcast. If you listen,
I don't know. I don't like his podcast, by the way, but
he's a track thinker. Like he thinks on a track. So he'll listen to somebody and then he goes right back to his old track, right?
Yeah.
He can't maintain and nurture a genuine dialogue that's give and take. And Gary Vee's the same way. And I think it's the ADHD types, meaning the super focused thinkers.
Yeah.
They have a hard time really jiving them back.
It's interesting because every once in a while, not a lot, I'll just share a piece of Gary's stuff just to see what kind of reactions I get from some of my followers or my friends. Yeah. And it's always 50-50, man. You got some people like, oh yeah, I love the hustle, blah, 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 blah. And then everybody else is like, that's just not realistic. You need to slow down once in a while. And even Gary actually has admitted that in the past probably year and a half, where he admits now he's got a personal trainer. He wasn't being as health balanced with his lifestyle and his nutrition and everything else. He's like, if you are going to go, he realized you have to take care of yourself. So I am very interested.
He's a human being. He's going to realize that at some point. I love each and every person in the growth market for what they do. They are what they are, right? And I think that's part of the learning journey when you find yourself in this marketplace. Is it's not about like picking somebody apart for the sake of picking them apart. It's just seeing them for their strengths. And there's always going to be a conversation on the other side of where the differences lie. Like differences lie. Gary Vee, like, oh my God, that guy goes a bazillion miles per hour all the time. Yeah. And his mind goes like that. So his life tends to go like that.
That's why he needed to grow a media company, because he had so much stuff flowing. I'm like, dude, you better build a team sooner or later, because half of what you're thinking about is gone.
How did he juggle all that? Right. Like, and he's in a place where I think it appears there's an appearance that he creates that he's in a super happy place. For some reason, instinctually, this isn't me judging him. I don't buy it.
I would agree. I think there is an internal turmoil going on there without being a professional. I'm just saying, like, when I observe it, I agree with you. Like, because I've gone through these, we all go through, this is good for the listeners, right? We all go through extremes, highs and lows. And usually the crazy, crazy highs and the crazy, crazy lows are going to be the most stressful, because you don't have balance. And that's something I learned when I studied psychology.
You're furthest away from your resources is what happens.
Right. That whole zero axis of balance, right? If you're way up here and way down here, but everything is here, like, you got to start getting back in there, man. You got to get into that core that you're not going to be balanced all the time. Let's be real. That's real life. But I think those of us in this growth market, so to speak, I like that term. Those of us who, I'm interested to hear your opinion. Those of us who start realizing that, these extremes aren't working. I need to, when I do hit that extreme, get myself back, to my origination point sooner rather than later. What do you think about that? Because I think a lot of people, that is a part of the struggle. Some people are afraid to hit the extreme, whereas a lot of us are saying, no, it's okay to hit it. It's just through my years of growth, I've realized, wait, are we learning the ways to get us back, get us centered?
Well, I think that's a very good conversation. And I got a few things to say about this. Life is about contrast. So it's really about awareness, right? It's about being aware of what it looks like when you're high and what it looks like when you're low and where you feel the most grounded. Life never gets better when you're grinding against an up or a down. So it's more, for me, and this is totally the case in business, I find for myself. When I'm just aware of where I'm at and find that can become the center. Like, okay, I'm here, I'm at a low point, but how am I going to use this low point? That's literally what I say to myself. I say, okay, what is this doing for me? Well, I'm pretty sad right now, but I'm gaining more awareness of what I want around the sadness, right? Like, here's what I'm really learning about this on my business day. Well, not having this much funding in my bank account to make this happen for me. I'm really aware how important it is for me to put in these financial resources, et cetera, et cetera. So it's always serving something in the high as well. And this is where Tony Robbins works. He works in
He definitely works up there.
And there is tremendous amount of things that you can do in peak states. The key is just not to get lulled into this idea that I'm going to be here forever. Because if you buy into that notion that you're always going to be flying in a state of happiness, perfect ecstatic feeling, perfect focus, perfect this, when you come out of it, what do you end up being? Destroyed, right? Because you're like, what have I done wrong? You start to blame yourself and you judge yourself. And that's called life. You're going to have ups and downs. So it's learning to just gain awareness of what each of those states is so you can make them all your center. Everything can be a center. You don't have to be. So my conversation about balance is, it's not where I'm not high or low. Balance for me is knowing where I'm at and knowing how to use those states in a way that serves where I'm trying to go. Always.
Now, have you always been aware of that?
No. I could go back to Navy SEALs training. I think that's the biggest journey for anybody who's a human being, is understanding how to manage feeling states to serve you well. Because I honestly believe we're all creators, right? That we're all on the planet creating something. So that
I like that.
It very practically. We're all creators. We're all busy creating something. So, but the key for each and every one of us is life doesn't get good until we learn to manage our feelings. So to me, it's all about feeling. Like the whole experience is about mastering feeling. So I'm going to go backwards real quick.
Okay.
Gary V, he's an up guy, right? And he uses that powerfully. But I think Gary V is in this place where he appears, for his brand is built around that high energy, high peak state kind of state of being. And it doesn't match reality, meaning we only see that. He only brands that. And it fits a persona in our culture right now. That's where, we're a productivity-oriented global culture. Do more, do more, do more, do more. And that serves it well. And that's really why I think he's done so well, right? Is that brand type matches cultural type, right? Hustle and grind. And this, he built the whole hustle and grind around what our culture is really about. It's really
I think he's built it so well that some people are getting tired of hearing those words.
Totally. It's gone now. It's already,
they're burned out.
It's burned out, and that's why I was kind of like on the Pioneers of Insight podcast. I was seeking out people that were on the hustle side for a while. And to be honest, like as soon as I started doing it, I was like, oh God, what am I doing? That became a grind for me.
Well, kudos for you to realize that, right? I think this almost goes full circle back to an earlier point you had made, where you had, not verbatim here, but you had basically mentioned about how, are you willing to self-correct? I guess, be aware where you're at. And also, are you forcing yourself into a mold that doesn't make sense? Are you beating your head up against the wall to the point where you're bloody, right? Like, where are you at? And you're actually, at least, were able to catch that and like, whoa, wait a minute, this doesn't feel right.
Well, that goes back to what we were talking about. Like when you step forward to serve yourself through a venture, right? It's got to be a genuine expression of who you are. Because then you're not serving your inspiration. So along the way, there's going to be adjustments, and that's what I was talking about. It's like, I have an idea where I want to go. I want to be a multi-million-dollar brand. I want to be global. I want to be scaling. I want to go into film. I want to do all that. But the concepts that I started with are evolving constantly, and that's being awake and aware to my own inspiration. Inspiration doesn't go, it's not like some dude who's raising a flag and says, here's what you're going to do for the rest of your life. Inspiration is you're doing this brand and it's going to be this, like General Mills or something. Like, I think that's gone. Those days are gone. We're in a freer space to create in the business marketplace now. And,
thanks to just online in general, right? Just the digital space has created so much freedom. I mean, hell, it goes back to you and I. Like, hey, I never planned on launching a podcast show, right? Years and years ago, I never thought about, well, I considered launching websites. Never knew I could do that. Like, it's just these new levels of freedom and extended capacity that's available to us.
Well,
but back to your point.
Everybody.
Yeah. But to your point, are we inspired enough to channel ourselves in the right direction, or at least stay aware of your inspiration to the point where if you go down one path that doesn't make sense, are you willing to readjust? Are you the big popular term now is pivot, right? There's books now on pivots. So, are you willing to pivot?
I think it's about expansion, and that's one of the reasons I sought you out.
Okay.
I looked for the people that made the most radical leaps. I'm looking at your profile. I'm like, what the hell? This guy's a smoke jumper. And now,
hey, that's hot shot. I'm sorry. I have to clarify that.
It's like somebody saying to a person who was a Navy SEAL EDT, you can't do that.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you're Army or you're Marines, right? It's like, no.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I get it.
No, it's cool. It's cool.
No, but I seek those people that are able to make what appears to be huge leaps, because from the outside, we're taught to believe that the old mode of thinking is like, you become a doctor, you become a lawyer, you become this, you find your niche and you just grind it out, right? The reality is the people that are genuinely connected to who and what they are find these silver threads to make smoother transitions. And what looks like great leaps aren't really great leaps. So for you, here you are, you're fighting forest fires, but there was a part of you, and that's why I loved your interview was great. I loved your interview. For you guys who haven't heard,
I had fun with it.
You got to listen to that episode. It's really good. And it was fun to mix. I think it came out really good. But you had a sense from the moment that you entered into service that you weren't serving the idea of fighting forest fires. You were serving the call to adventure. And the call to adventure for you was very different from the people that you were working with, meaning you had this expanded sense of knowing. You had you're a very intelligent person, so you have a skill set there. You're a wickedly capable communicator. So that call to adventure served you for a while, but then you were like, moving on. No, you were moving on because inspiration was calling you to a different place.
Yeah.
So that's the, I hope anybody who likes Scott can hear. That's what I think that's value about people connecting to your brand is you help show that it's really about serving some level of authenticity throughout the journey. And when you do that, life's going to serve you in return. It's just the way it works.
It's interesting you bring that up because, I haven't mentioned this on a show yet. So I obviously, as of episode 51 forward, I started doing what we're doing today, right? We're recording on audio and video. So, because I want to push content to the YouTube space too, because I'm like, hey.
It's a ton of time, by the way. You know that, right?
Yeah. But it's like, guys, like, not everybody's an audio person. If I can give back on the video space, great. So the interesting thing is, all of my negative feedback has come from YouTube. And I've only gotten a few here and there. But every once in a while, you got that one hater where it's like,
because they're up at like 3 a.m. drinking Miller Lights and they have no lives, right?
Oh, I agree. But then this is the best part.
Looking for inspiration. You're like, you didn't inspire me, because they're in the victim mindset already.
Because here's the best part. Number one, they don't know my brand yet, right? Like they stumbled across a video, like searching for coconut oil. And like one of my votes, here's the best part. In the podcast world, Dr. Jack Cruz, he's the most downloaded episode I've ever had. In the YouTube world, the paleocardiologist, Dr. Jack Wolfson, is the most popular episode. Weird, right?
It's weird how it works.
But all the negative commentary has been on the Jack Wolfson episode. It's only been like 4 or 5 things. And the reason why is because they say, this host talks too much, doesn't let the interviewee talk more. And I was like, well, if you actually read about my show, he's not an interviewee. He's a guest co-host. And this is a two-way conversational format show. Oh, and by the way, I'm not somebody's host employee. It's my freaking show. So, and part of my show's format is what you just told me, which is you get it. It's like, guys, Dr. Jack Wolfson's not going to motivate and inspire you. All right. I have to drive the conversation if I'm going to be a good host. So I'm going to speak once in a while.
Isn't that interesting about having a brand is you're constantly getting feedback from people that have a sense of what they want to hear before they investigate the brand, right? So you oftentimes you hear people that are just wanting to hear themselves out loud, right?
Yeah.
And I think whenever you run a business, you got to be aware of that stuff. Otherwise, oh my God, I worked for companies that spun their wheels around that stuff and really wasted so much time, energy, and money on it.
Oh, trying to make that one person happy?
Right. And
Yeah,
it's like, look, this person doesn't care about the brand. They're just
you'll love this.
Being that's not that they're not willing to serve others or hear others, or it's just not worth it.
Yes, thank you. And you'll love this because you're growing in the media space. So I just for fun, because I'm analytical, I clicked in each one of those specific profiles. They have no brand. There's no headshot. There's no followings, nothing, right? They're just a random profile. So you already mean nothing to me. Number two, you're just commenting negative energy, which means you mean nothing to me because, again, everything that I care about is about spreading positive.
Now we're getting into flow. And this is important because this is where brands can really start to add momentum when they're focusing on what's working rather than what's not, because what often is reflected as what's not working is our people aren't willing to connect for the right reasons, right? So you're not getting feedback that's helpful. Now, I'll also say this, it's important to hear it all, and be aware of where it's coming from. And
I did comment. Out of respect to those people,
if you invest your energy in negative energy, guess what you're going to get in return?
Negative energy.
Just more negative. Because then you're going to walk away from that. You put hours and hours of your talent, your time, your skill set, your confidence, creating something beautiful, and some, random surfer came across your site, and you're going to walk away from having looked at that comment going, oh my God, what am I doing wrong? You're doing nothing wrong. You're doing everything right.
You'll love this. I had fun with it. For each one of those, I kept it very simple. I said, number one, I said immediately, thank you for your feedback. In the future, I really do honor constructive, positive feedback to improve my show.
Yeah.
I was like, if you have a specific podcast you like, or you have your own show that's outperforming mine, please share it so I can learn from you.
Yeah, right.
That was fun. And then I said, listen, seriously, please, the world is negative enough. Please work on spreading positive energy. And then in the very, very end, I gave a quick summary of what my show was about. I say, again, just to help you guys understand, this is an open format, conversational show, two-way. I'm welcoming them into our world, not his world. And again, I thank you for your feedback. So it's a summary of basically something along those lines. Right. So, and then I moved on.
It's an important thing for business owners to think about, because isn't it funny that we can create boundaries in our personal relationships where we can say something like, well, it's not my job to make them think any different. Nope. But when it comes to business, suddenly you're investing so much time into trying to make people think otherwise. Well, the reality is we can't make people think differently, and it's not even our freaking job. Our job is to align with the people that are open to hearing it. So that's where brands grow. And I think the brands that do best, that are the most successful on the planet, they got that early. Think of an Apple, right? They weren't grinding on what they weren't like, oh, Bill Gates' guys, they love this. They didn't give a crap. Right? They keyed into who related to what they were doing, and they ran. And
that's something that I was teaching somebody who's a podcaster the other day. I said, back to your point on business in general, or you even hinted here, relationships, right? You will never make everybody happy. So the most important thing you could do to yourself is to define who you are, what is your message to the world, what's going to keep you inspired and motivated and moving forward, and then surround yourself with those people, those clients, those podcasts, those audiobooks, etc.
That's flow. That's flow. That's a life of flow, where you're no longer investing energy, time, attention into the things that aren't meant for you, right? Meaning that if you're in a conversation that's over 5 minutes long and you're saying things like this, well, you're going the wrong direction and it's not going to change anything, right? So you want to be constantly letting that go, flow through your life. Those people, hey, you can be good acquaintances. You can even respect them and love them from afar, but create distance and find the people that align. And then things just really get easier.
I love the fact you're talking about this.
Every market is like that. It doesn't matter. I've had the benefit of counseling people for years. VIPs, celebs, shoe salesmen, from every walk of life, right? And I can see that the people that are living with genuine sense of fulfillment and happiness are those people. And it's not rocket science, folks. Like, we try to make everything rocket science. Go to your local Barnes and Nobles and you look at the personal development shelf. It's like, it really could be like summarized in one line. A line.
I got to tie it back to your latest update you had sent me for this show today. I wanted to bring this up in the episode because I just love the title, but you're talking about Barnes & Noble. We're talking about surrounding yourself with the right content, and you are connecting something to as more soulful, right? Like, are we really digging into a soul deep and figuring out what we want and who we want to surround ourselves with? So I just had to reference the whole A Soul's Resource Guide to Surviving Life's Beautiful Shitstorms. Right? Because I just love that title. I love it.
That's a series of books that I'm working on around my products. It's actually going to be a series, and it's just going to be very simple principles about people, what it means to live flow lifestyle, and getting rid of the notion that life, because you're in a flow lifestyle, that life transforms, meaning like, oh, by the way, there will never be another storm in your life. No, those are going to show up, but it's understanding that you can still move through those things with ease and grace when you have a sense of how to create balance for yourself, understanding there's going to be changes, ups and downs, and all those kind of things. You could still move through that when you have a sense of self and you have a sense of how to manage feeling. So that's really what it's about,
I think it's a great idea because I think us too, let's be real, we're all still human beings here. Whether it be professional or personal life.
Elon Musk has different plans, by the way. I didn't.
He does play at a different level. I don't know if he's fully human or not. But to your point on the shitstorm piece, like it's pretty much always going to be happening, people. The difference is how you respond and how you flow through it.
Absolutely, a shitstorm is an opportunity for the people that I think. Well, I'm, and I mean this genuinely. I'm not trying to be cliche. And I'm not trying to be hustle and grind either. I mean, those people that are mastering life, they're no longer pushing against the things that they don't want. Meaning like, oh, that shouldn't be happening. No, they go, this is happening. So what can I get out of it? Right? That's learning not to look out for shitstorms. It's not seeking shit.
So please don't start searching for that, listeners, please. No, you don't want to really search for it.
You don't seek those out. They just come to you because that's where we grow and expand. But the expansion happens. We create spaces for more love. We create spaces for more freedom. We create spaces for more prosperity when we find ourselves in places that are uncomfortable. Because we suddenly have to apply our skill sets in different ways. We have to apply our ways of being in different ways. So, that's the whole shitstorm concept, basically.
Well, I think it sums it up because I'm writing it on my dry erase board for a note for later for the podcast, for the blog content. But it's like, a shitstorm is an opportunity really for growth. It's really a growth opportunity. It just comes down to, are you willing to embrace it so you can grow through it, I think. So
yeah, you're not avoiding, right? Like, I mean, you can make it very simple. Look, the universe is a shitstorm,
mm-hmm.
Right? It really is. I mean, there's constantly evolution that's happening, and the evolution is always around events. It's not around when things are peaceful, right? Like, there's the events that are happening, and it's the same for us is human beings. We tend to get a sense of more of who we are and more of what we can do when we're put in uncomfortable situations. Mm-hmm. And to get even deeper philosophically, I don't think that stuff's there to create misery. So it's more about us understanding the ups and downs and gaining control of who and what we are. And then life becomes easier, right? It's always when we try to it's the no's that create the most pain. That's not supposed to be there. Oh, really? You're bigger than life and you're telling life what's supposed to be there, right? Like, it's learning to flow with it. I'll give you an example. I'm a marriage and family therapist. I'm a coach, and I'm launching, scaling a brand that's all about helping people take charge of their change, and it's all about inspiration. And my life partner 2 months ago said, I've had enough. right? And I was like,
Yeah, I saw that. I was
here's
like,
the
wow.
shitstorm. Here's the
Yeah.
shitstorm. I could have easily said, well, I could have gone back to a bunch of old stories, old beliefs. Like, oh, who was I to kid myself that this was going to work out? Or I'm not good enough or whatever. Or I could have said, you know what? This is creating an opportunity for more love in my life because this relationship had run its course. It was a wave that had run its course. And I could blame, I could, judge myself, I could judge her, or I could say, you know what, this relationship's going to get better in the form that it is. And you know what? Everything is better. It's only been 2 months and everything is better. I'm freed up to do more and love more and life is getting good. It's not that was easy. I mean,
Well, let's be real. That's not easy.
dude, I was in my,
come on.
Here I am. I'm, like spending thousands of dollars to get a new place and, set up with furniture and sort of, I'm in my home at night alone and it's a shock. It's like, what the F?
It's a lifestyle change.
Oh, it's a huge lifestyle change. And there was bawling, right? There was all of that. But
I mean, because let's be real, you guys, you two loved each other. It's not about that, right? Yeah. See,
yeah.
It's just you're on different domains. You're on different plateaus. However you want to word that, right? You're playing at a different level now.
Like I don't even have to dice it up, and as a therapist, love to do that. Well, here's all the reasons it went wrong, right? That's not.
What's the point?
It's not useful.
Yeah.
So for me, it's more about what can I do with this as I move forward? How can I use it to serve my relationship with my son and her and the family as we are in my life as I move forward? And, that's how I do it.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a relationship guru, but when I hear this, it makes me think of other people that I am aware of that said, you know what, it was hard in the beginning. And then what they realized was, they tell me, not everybody, by the way, just some of them, but they said, we're better now than we've ever been because time was allowed to pass. And then they realized that they're even better as friends and they put the kids first and all that. Right. But it was meant to change, and it's not easy. I don't care how you word it, but
no, it's not easy because the mind automatically has like a set default. And, and when you're getting out of a relationship, a lot of your defaults are set for, well, love means this when I'm with her or when I'm doing this or when we do this together. So the mind is constantly going back to that crap. So I think the biggest challenge for anybody moving out of a relationship, and I actually started a group for people called Wisdom Within for people that are looking to create momentum out of a relationship instead of just falling apart.
I love that.
Yeah, well, there again, inspiration, an opportunity. But it's really about learning to invest in a new story as quick as possible. The old story is what keeps us suffering, meaning it's just a story, just a string of thoughts that you get up and attach to early on. And then you're like, well, if this didn't happen today, this means I don't have love and da, 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 da. And then your whole day goes to crap.
I think that's powerful because what you've given us a nice in-depth into your personal life. I'm sure listeners were not expecting that, so thank you.
By the way, everything's perfect in my life.
Yeah, right.
My brand is scaling rapidly.
Everything I truly think does happen for a reason. But to your point just now that you made, and you kind of hinted at it a couple times earlier in the show, whereas we're going to word it differently now, is that I think many of us do hold on to past components too long. And the sooner you can embrace them and move forward, the sooner you can decide, well, maybe this next step makes sense. Right? But it's like you with your brand and the podcast, like you got into it at one point and you're looking for the crazy adventurous nutball, hustle guys. And then you realize, wait a minute, things didn't feel right. But at least you didn't hold on to the original game plan. You were willing to adapt and modify.
Yeah. And this is just a perspective difference. That would be what I would say is the value of a flow mindset, right? Life gets really difficult when you become too rigid in your thinking or your approach to life or relationships or anything. And life is going to show you how fast it wants you to flow. Meaning those people that end up doing, I think, really fantastically, they don't mourn the difficulties. They find ways to flow with it. And it's not because life's being unfair.
Yeah.
It's because life is offering them greater opportunities. It literally means that. Like people That's the way that's a perspective difference that I think I have, that when you really look at some of the stories of people that are masters or whatever that they've done, when they really open up and talk about their lives, from the outside, people have this idea like, oh, their lives have been perfect and they're somehow like, destined divinely to be successful. They're like one tragedy after another or one challenge after another that they found a way to flow through. And it's an incredibly valuable thing to have an attitude to life of being open to life, not judging life, to working with life and see, is it working with you? Life tends to get easier that way. When you're going, like I said before, the no stuff, that's where it becomes the grind. It's where all the energy gets lost.
Yeah. I mean, let's be real. I mean, I think this is a great way to start bringing the show to a close, but you kind of hinted at a couple times in the show, we talked about, it is good to say no so you can move forward more quickly. But I think it's important to also remind people that are hearing this, also don't be so immediate with your no that you're actually blocking out new potential opportunity, right? It's having that open-mindedness to at least review everything and consider it. And then if it makes sense, go ahead and say no and move on.
Yeah, the no and the yes thing, that's where all of our power lies, right? Is what you say no and what you say yes to. And I think they each have their benefits in terms of ways of being, but it's using them both wisely, right? Like, you have to have a sense of an awareness of who you are, what you are, and where you're going in terms of an outcome. And if you don't have that, the yes and no becomes really hard, because then it's just like two things on the board that you got to figure out how to muck with. But if they're actually serving something, a vision that's connected to a genuine sense of passion and who you are, then it gets easier, right? Because you can hear people that don't line up, and that's been part of our conversation on your podcast today, is like what it looks like to evolve in a brand. Where the yes and the no's came for me is the yes was about being open to change that fit the inspiration that I was trying to serve, right? And then the brand evolved around that. And that's a wonderful opportunity for anybody out there. The no's have come in the work. The no's have come in by actually wading into the craft of building a business and understanding what serves it and what doesn't. It becomes clear as you go on. That's time-related stuff, I think.
Yeah. This has been a great show, man.
Really? You think so?
I'm feeling very deep right now. I have meetings the rest of the afternoon, and I'm very inspired. I'm going to carry some of our topics today into some of the meetings. I'm literally already thinking, I can't help it. I'm already thinking like, oh, I got to share that. I got to share that. Because that's also the power of this stuff, right? Is that we are providing a free platform. Well, we're paying for it, but our listeners are getting free content to use as they see fit. And all we can hopefully do is hopefully that one topic, one co-host, one interviewee, whatever you want to say, gets one piece of information through to somebody.
That's my whole goal. And that whenever I have any of these conversations, whether it be an interview, I honestly don't care if people get the concepts of what I do at all. If they can take out of one sentence, one thing that sparked, and a bell went off in their head that said yes, then good. That's the point.
There we go.
To inspire people to move forward.
Well, listen, Jerry, I do have more meetings, and I'm sure you got a busy day ahead of you. And I know it's been a year since you've been on the show. But
does this mean I have to invite you back?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. You'll have to let me know which podcast, Mister. I got so many other things in the works. But
I definitely, I would have to figure that out.
I'd be honored. And again, I did love that episode, and you did get me to talk about things that I had not talked about in a while on that show. So I did appreciate that. I'm going to have to reshare that again. All
your listeners out there, go listen to that episode. Not just because it's my brand, but Scott,
it was fun. It was fun.
Scott had a lot of fun on the show.
I'll have to, we'll have to hyperlink that back into these show notes because, it'll just tie it all together. But it's been a year, but I still do the same thing I've always done. I like my co-host to help close out the show. We've already talked about so much today, besides flow state, and obviously a ShitStorm is a growth opportunity, and many, many other things. But is there is a year later, man, you've changed. You've moved into more of a single life. You've got brand growth. You're growing a media company now instead of a wellness company. So is there a new summary of a final message you want to leave behind to our listeners, something that's new and all-encompassing as far as what's inspiring you to move forward, you're trying to teach the world?
Well, my whole focus is about creating media for soulful citizens. And I really believe that each of us, the whole idea of soul is not that, I'm not even make it ethereal, that we're all here to make true contact with life. And that means being authentic and living life. So, in terms of a daily inspiration, just finding the time for you to make genuine contact, where it doesn't matter what it looks like. It might be you find yourself sitting down for 2 minutes before you start your workday to meditate. For you, it's getting on a mountain. But for my brother, he runs an outdoor clothing company for downhill mountain bike racers. Maybe for you, it's going downhill on a mountain bike 50 miles.
I do that once in a while.
Right. Whatever it is, make contact where the brain is not on and you're just receiving life. I think that's where life really gets magical, when you create the space and time for that. If you like to check out what I do, please come by. I'm inspired to do this each and every day, and I got a bunch of websites. I'm sure.
And ladies and gentlemen, all of that will be posted in the blog show notes, like we always do. I always want to make sure you could track down and cyber stalk our co-hosts anywhere.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about launching a new show that I'm seeking major distribution with. I'll be making the announcement probably in a month here.
Exciting.
So check out the website.
Yeah, I mean, I already follow you. Again, ladies and gentlemen, it's TOOWi Media is one of his main sites. But obviously, you can follow him on Facebook. You can follow him on
YouTube,
everywhere.
Twitter, everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
You're like me, man. We just throw it all out there.
It's out there, yeah.
Well, listen, I want to give you a proper goodbye off the air. Ladies and gentlemen, the return of Jerry-Gaura of TOOWi Media. He's got so much going on. Thank you so much for listening in. If you did hang out the entire episode, which I know you do, he shared so much personal and professional knowledge. So please check him out. Please follow him and go back and check him out on episode 69, just so you can hear the shift from 1 year later of this episode. But again, thanks for listening in. I hope you left with a little more inspiration in your day. And as I close out every other show, remember, you too can live the fuel. We'll talk to you guys again soon.
Thank you, Scott.
You're clear of the pod. So this is just extra video content. But man, thank you. Wow. So much happening. I'm glad we got you back on.
It was fun. Yeah,
Yes.
I like to be able to do this. That's one of the reasons I like connecting with you. It's kind of like a brotherly conversation.
It does. And I will admit, not to take anything away from you, but I've had similar connections with other co-hosts. It's like, it makes me feel better about how I've done my show. So many people aren't used to this format, and I like being the different guy, because I do feel that I'm able to learn so much more. And you guys, like today, you guys get so much more transparent. That's all I could ever want, because that shows that everybody's real. Everybody's human.
The human journey. Yeah. I mean, why even bother, pretending?
Yeah. I love it.
It's too much energy wasted.
But definitely, man, I'll be following you. So I'm on your email list. So when you announce the next phase of the launch.
That's how you knew that I was breaking up. So you read the email. Oh, I got you.
Oh, yeah. All right. I did not unsubscribe.
You're like, oh crap, it's gonna go downhill from here.
So there's so many people like, oh wait, am I still subscribed? Am I not subscribed? You got to filter sooner or later.
Blogging about this? Do I have to read this? Well, that's funny.
But I appreciated the transparency. So
yeah.
And you humanized it yourself, which I think nowadays is very important for approachability.
I'm a therapist and I'm a coach. If I can't talk about this stuff out loud, what the hell am I doing? Right?
Yeah. Then you're faking it, and people are going to lose some of that respect and trust. So,
and if I want to be a public figure in terms of scaling my media, I'm not doing it for the attention.
No,
I'm doing it because that's just where I'm at. It's where I'm at.
I'm with you, brother.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much.
Hey, this has been powerful. I will obviously update you once it gets scheduled for live. and we're definitely going to stay in touch. So
yeah, let me wrap my head around everything that's going on right now. We'll talk about further collab opportunities. I'm sending out an email to everybody who's alumni for collaboration ops, which is just me doing referral stuff for you guys.
Hey, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll get it for you. You should see an email within the next 2 weeks here.
Awesome.
All right, dude.
Have a great afternoon.
Yeah, enjoy your day.
Take care.